Hey, Peter.
Hey.
Let me take you back in time.
Okay.
Let me take you back 26 years ago.
It was like it was yesterday to me. So try.
They just reissued the Volkswagen Beetle. A young Steve Jobs is between jobs.
Ooh.
And
no pun intended.
One of the great piano trios of the 1990s is at their peak.
And
they're
Keith Jarrett?
No.
Oh.
They're in Paris.
Oh, Chick Corea.
No.
Oh.
Any guess?
Brad Mehldau?
Yes. I'm Adam Manis.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Music advice coming at you.
Coming at you today, sponsored by Open Studio. Go to openstudiojazz.com to check out Open Studio. That's
Yes.
what we're doing around here. We're talking about jazz piano all the time.
That's right.
And Open Studio is the place to be.
Should we tell them what we were just talking about in the episode that we kept finishing prematurely?
We're gonna do that episode. We're gonna do is Bill Evans the Larry Bird of jazz.
Oh,
I'm
he's
calling
putting it
right
out
now.
there.
It's gonna happen.
We just tried
so
3
bad
times.
at going negative, man. We're not good at it. So I thought we would
I
have.
like that teaser though.
It's
coming.
good. Yeah, check it out. Caleb, producer Caleb, suggested that we go positive and just have a bit of a palate cleanser.
Caleb wants us just to finish something.
I think he's hungry.
So we can go to lunch.
I mean, it is late.
I'm hungry. Too. Okay. This is gonna be fun.
I know.
Because what you were describing that time and where we're going is a place, not so much that of course, we all want to go back in time, but it's like sometimes when we talk about, let's go back in time, well, think about some horrible thing that happened when you were a teenager, when you were being bullied and shoved into a trash can at University City High School. Not that happened.
This is happening in 97, so that's right in the prime time for me for that kind of thing, for sure. Yeah.
But this was like, I was in Europe that summer. I know this venue. I've known Brad from before this time. And I mean, I love the classic Brad Mehldau trio, which I believe he's out on tour with again. Now, I could be wrong on that.
You might be wrong.
I might be wrong. Yeah. Well, okay. Anyway, Larry Grenadier and Jorge Rossi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they on the road right now?
I thought so.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I had not heard that.
Right. Well, we'll fact check that as we go.
It is, I think, one of the great groups of the 1990s.
Yeah.
The Brad Mehldau trio, specifically with Jorge and Larry. And that's no offense to Jeff Ballard or anybody else that has played.
Shout out Jeff.
That's also a classic trio. But there's something with the energy when these guys were all super young and really kind of like making some now classic records. All the Live at the Village Vanguards, the Art of the Trio records have been studied by my generation and I think generations underneath us. So it's kind of cool to go back and see this concert at a venue that I know, Peter, you've played at in Paris.
Parc de Floral. So they have a wonderful outdoor festival that's been going on for years, and I'm trying to remember the last time I did it. It's been a while, but I believe it is, at least it was, a free festival. It's in Paris, Paris has one of the best jazz or just live music audiences in the world. Just in terms of, and this is very subjective in terms of feedback I've gotten during gigs and clubs, the New Morning. I mean, first time I went there was 1991. Were you in diapers then? I'm sorry. I can't remember.
No, man.
91?
No, I was like 12 years old. What are you talking about?
Okay, good. Oh, you got out of diapers early. Good. Yeah. Way to go. But so at the New Morning Jazz Club with Betty Carter, I'll never forget that. But the audience has always been sort of the constant, different venues, big venues, small venues, clubs or whatever. I mean, I think the Strasbourg Saint-Denis with, Roy Hargrove and our dear friend Montez Coleman, the vibe, the level that they played there is a big part of it is that audience interaction, that energy from the audience. And Parc Floral is just a special place. It's a special place. It's just, they're hyped up in all the right ways. They're outdoors. They're not acting like they're indoors, but they're not like sitting, looking the other way and eating wine and cheese. And, well, it's France, of course.
Of course
You'd be smart to eat some wine and cheese. But I mean, the idea is just that everything kind of comes together. So it's a great challenge for a really good group to hit that higher level too, since everything else is. So I'm excited to see this. I've never seen this.
I've never seen this either. I don't know how I missed it, but this was right. This would be in the time where I was really discovering Brad Mehldau's music, and I saw him live a bunch during this time.
Yeah.
Never in Paris, unfortunately, but now we get this great video. And this is The Way You Look Tonight, which was from, I believe, Art of the Trio Volume 4. A super burnin' fast version of The Way You Look Tonight. I'm wondering if this is going to be that fast, but I did a sneak peek here. There is a classic 90s Brad Mehldau solo piano intro on this, and so let's check it out.
Okay, I'm sorry. Before we check it out, I did a little reconnaissance here. Check this. Boom.
They're on.
So it's with Ballard.
Okay, it's with
But
Ballard,
I mean,
yeah.
look at that. I would be checking that out.
For sure.
You can go on here, look at this. And is there a sound? This is just kind of, whoa. Look at that.
Oh, at the show then.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to go see him.
Yeah. Anyway, go to bradmel.music.com. You can check out this whole schedule.
Sweet.
Okay, let's check it out. Let's go back in time. Okay, so I feel validated. I think Brad and I are about the same age. I was playing. There's some potato quality YouTube videos of me out there from this time, and I was always very skeptical and self-aware and a lot of self-deprecation to my long sleeve length on my shirts during that period.
Buddy, things were just baggier and boxier.
No, but I thought it was due to the short stature that I enjoy as a gentleman.
How clothes were cut. By the
Look
way,
at it, Brad's the same.
By the way, this is now back in fashion. So
oh, I'm pulling my stuff out.
It's coming,
Willie Ware
coming
is
back
back
around.
in the house.
I mean, I'm a sucker. Sue me for it.
I
I'm
know.
a sucker for the triplets. I'm a sucker for all of it.
Yeah, and then some 5 stuff in there. Brad has such a great, like, kind of understated technical mastery is the best words I can come
It's
up
a
with right
rhythmic
now.
mastery that is almost like so unique to him.
Very much. And
If
I mean,
we-
people always think about like piano technique just being like velocity, all these things that you work on for technique. But when you fold that in with the musical stuff,
Yeah.
like that's real technique.
And you know how much of this shit has been ripped off by people, including myself.
Yeah.
But like so many people play like this. But this all, I mean, he didn't invent all this stuff, but it's
No.
so specific to his sound that it's like
Yeah.
you can't help but be ripping him off.
And there's some like there's a way that he plays it that makes it seem accessible as if you're a pianist.
Yeah.
It's not necessary. It's
No.
very refined and difficult to do, but it kind of comes out of that tradition of making something look easy.
It's because it's so free and relaxed with it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Some modulation there. Effortless modulation. Oh, some unisounds going on in there.
Whole tone much? Big backbeat level. Larry Grenadier with the "Let's get this party started" look. Yeah, Park Floral de Paris.
So fast.
there.
Yeah.
There's a couple things. The transition.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course, the beautiful solo piano. And look, the only knock I can hear people saying is like, that's just Keith Jarrett. That's Keith Jarrett Trio. That's Gary Peacock and Jack DeJohnette coming in. But what would you say to that, my friend?
It's not, but it's just not.
No, it's influenced by that, of course.
Yeah, of course. But as anybody would be by Keith Jarrett, but it's its own thing. It's its own
thing.
like that's
why
the
is
thing.
the Keith Jarrett thing like if you imitate, Hank Jones or the Wynton Kelly Trio from the '60s or something like there's not as much pushback for some reason. The Keith Jarrett thing, if you're referencing that or using that as an influence, like there's some kind of like that's a little bit of a third rail.
Well,
like no, Keith is his own thing.
For some reason, there are some people that think that some artists created music in a vacuum and other artists are just ripping off those artists who created music in a vacuum. But as we've heard,
I was about to say,
Keith Jarrett wasn't in a vacuum.
Coming soon to an episode near you.
Yeah, there we with our help of our dear friend Aaron Parks have
the name of that episode is going to be Keith Jarrett, original genius or plagiarist.
Well, no, there are some musicians where you can like, oh, there's Keith Jarrett. Like you can hear his influences. So no one grew up in a vacuum. No one learned music in a vacuum. So I don't know. I don't think of this as Keith Jarrett-esque even.
Well, that did come to my mind, but only in the happiest of ways. And I think just in terms of like a lot of the more obvious things are not as interesting to me as like piano trio. It's kind of like saying, like, what is this combination, like a big band, right, in jazz, or a string quartet in classical music, or whatever. Like what are you going to do with this iconic combination of instruments? Not who are you going to reference, but like how are you going to place yourself into something that already works really well? You're playing this great Jerome Kern standard. Like to me it was about the intro, you know what I'm saying? Like all that stuff that he played, like what a cool thing then to go in. And I love that transition, the way that it went in there, like all these little touch points of that. Did Keith Jarrett do that? Did Red Garland Trio? I don't care. I don't know. I'm just happy. I'm enjoying what's going on now.
And this is obviously, so the intro and the transition and then even the first few phrases of the solo here are almost exactly like the record. Are almost like the
interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So
talking about Brad Meldau's record.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Of the way that you look tonight.
Nice.
Let's see how it turns out.
That left hand hovering, ready to pounce. Pianists, we are allowed to not play with our left hand sometimes. Come in. Piano's out of tune.
So sick.
Wait, can we listen to that again? Okay, this would be a good little pull-out section for folks to analyze them.
Can we get some Max Gamise translation?
Yeah.
Something like
But
that.
the precision, whoa.
Nice.
So, one thing to think about, like...
So he's going up this sort of like F minor triad plus one. Like that kind of thing.
But that last part, like, sometimes you could break this stuff down and then be like, oh, that's just, jazz arpeggios or whatever you want to call it. But the placement of it with that, like, kind of extended, like, once you start that kind of thing, you better know not how you're going to finish it, but you better be open to, like, thinking on the fly as you come through, because where you end and how you end and the rhythmic precision is all.
And very few people can rip it that clean.
Exactly.
That's pretty clean.
What's he played before? That space. And he kind of got caught up in the middle.
Yeah.
With like, I know that what that feeling is, and he handled it perfectly. Made it into something different.
Larry Grenadier, such an amazing bassist, able to really follow Brad wherever. Huge ears.
Huge sleeves.
Huge sleeves.
You can roll the sleeves up. That double time, go in and out of it. It's so flexible.
The time during this period, Jorge and Larry. I mean, Jorge. Rossi. It's always this beautiful ambiguity.
Yeah. It's like rock steady, but it's rolling and ambiguous.
Yeah. It's steady. You know where you are. You don't know
And
where
it
you are.
enables Brad to just like come in and like wherever you want. And that groove element is always there. So I was just gonna say, like, one thing, and this is more just sort of like pitfalls and potential beautiful things that can come out of like checking something like this out, and with the historical context of so many pianists and trios imitating kind of this way of playing, like, don't lose the groove element.
Yeah.
You know, like, because like, it's kind of like all the fancy lights flashing on and off and all the cool stuff they're doing in terms of interaction and coming in unexpected places. Like, that's all great and cool stuff you can learn. I mean, you're not going to learn how to do all that, but you can start to take some of those things. But I don't think it's as useful if you only take those and don't have the foundation of just being able to swing through this tune.
Yeah.
Which they did on the head and they've done different times. But like, you have to have that foundation, because then this can all float on top of that without it just becoming like a little bit of a random nebulous mess. And a lot of people I hear imitating this way,
It's not as strong.
well, at least they go in and out of that sometimes.
But I mean, I think the strongest thing about this trio specifically, all of Brad's bands, but this trio specifically at this time, was they really had a sense of their own sense of groove. Like they had an identity,
A confidence in
a
it.
confidence
Yeah.
of their own sound and their own groove.
Yeah.
That is just very specific, and at this point, I think kind of iconic. Like if you were to recreate this, people would be like, "Oh, it's like the Brad Mehldau trio in the '90s." Like
Right.
it sounds like their own sound.
And it is an interesting thing to think about, like, okay, it's cool to take some of this and try to play like this. But that can be frustrating too, because it can be like, oh, I can't do it, you know, or like at best you're going to be a little bit of a mockery of that.
Yeah.
But what we can take is what you're talking about, that confidence
Yeah.
and that of the personality of the groove, not of like, is it grooving hard enough or am I the hardest grooving? No. It's like, where's that commonality? Where's the Venn diagram of the way Jorge and, well, all three of them, really. I shouldn't say just bass and drums, but when you think about the rhythm section, like how they're feeling that groove. What is the passing the baton back and forth, but knowing that groove essence is already there, and then how can you dance on top of that?
Yeah, exactly.
And so that can be done in a lot of different ways. And you look at a lot of, especially trios, when you've got this beautiful kind of like three-way conversation, the potential for that just with the instrumentation of it, like that's a great space to come in and be influenced and inspired by, I would say.
And
You don't have to put on an early 90s shirt.
No. And
in
during
order
this
to do
time, you know, this trio was getting compared a lot to the Bill Evans trio. And I know
Who?
Brad hated that. Like, actually wrote on liner notes that he.
Why? Third
Bill
rail?
Evans? I don't know. Like Christian McCaffrey of.
Crispin? Okay. Crispin Glover.
He loved that.
This way of playing double time, I love.
That is a very. That kind of thing.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
sort of shape. It's not exactly what he played, but. That's a very Brad Mehldau.
Yeah, and this kind of like, I love, it wasn't like, obviously they've been hinting at the double time and some, you know, going in and out of it. Brad probably, well, he didn't do the first. Jorge probably hinted at it the first. But like that flexibility of being like, it's like you're interjecting a little something in the conversation. A lot of times, especially young players, I hear like, how do I know when to go into double time? How do I, you know, it's like, no, there should never be, like, can you tell me when they went into double time?
No.
Is it when the last... I mean, sometimes it's like when the bass player is actually walking, but he had been hinting and going in and out of it. It's like, that's the fun of it.
It's masterful. One go far away.
So you went straight back to another time. Whole tone down, half step up, whole tone down.
Is that what's going on?
I think so, yeah. Yeah. That's all that is. Or maybe fourths.
It might be fourth or
Yeah.
fifth, yeah. Yeah, it's fourth.
Yeah.
Perfect cadences. So much piano. There's like, get out of my face with that camera, man. Come on.
I'll slap you with my sleeve if you don't get up off me.
Great solo from Larry here coming up.
Great way to end.
Man, how great is that?
Very great.
That's very great. So you can see why he was a phenomenon.
Absolutely.
And this
lots
trio,
of Bill Evans influence for sure.
Brad, you can write to PM.
Just kidding. That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was great.
It was so fun because it takes me back to that venue, to that time, to that sound. And just one little last note that I would add to that little kind of insider piano stuff. That piano was out of tune.
Jack
Well,
leg.
you know what I'm saying? Like probably a killer piano. The way he was playing it made me think. I mean, and I remember from that venue they get good pianos.
Yeah,
there.
it's a big old Steinway.
And it wasn't totally out of tune, but it had some. But I mean, that didn't rattle him at all. I don't think. Not seemingly so.
No, that's a really cool resource. I'm gonna go watch that whole concert.
There you go.
Till next time.
You'll hear it.